U.S. workers are quitting their jobs at record high rates. In the data released October 12th by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, August brought about a high of 4.3 million workers who quit their employment, causing the quit rate to increase to a new high of 2.9%, the fifth month in a row of record-breaking quit rates. Over the summer, the number of employees quitting their jobs due to the pandemic-related reasons skyrocketed. Those needing to stay home with their children due to childcare closures, those needing to stay home with a sick or high-risk loved one, and those with their own health concerns. But that only accounts for 1.5 million out of the 4.3 million total resignations reported by the data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Who then are the workers resigning in the greatest numbers? What industries are seeing the largest numbers of workers resigning? And what are their reasons for resigning in such large numbers? Anthony Klotz is a professor of management at Texas A&M University who in May coined the phrase the Great Resignation and forecast that record numbers of resignations were coming. Klotz stated that when there's uncertainty, people tend to stay put. So there are pent-up resignations that didn't happen over the past year. Pandemic-related epiphanies about family time, remote work, commuting, passion projects, life and death, and what it all means can make people reconsider how they work and earn money. Many workers are finding that they need and deserve more compensation for their work, to cover what is needed for a living wage and to place the value deserved on their time and skills. For 5 decades, wages have been declining. Many may not realize when they look at the trends of wage increases over time that in addition to the actual dollar amount of pay rate trends itself, what should also be examined is the percentage that wages and salaries represent as a share of the U.S. gross domestic product. Wages and salaries have steadily made up a smaller share of the U.S. gross domestic product since peaking at 51.6% in 1969. The figure stood at 43.4% in 2019 and then sank to a low of 41.9% as recently as 2014. What this means is that the U.S. economic growth has benefited the American worker less since the late 1960s. Workers who are in low-paying, mostly in-person roles accounted for the largest numbers of workers quitting. The total quit rate percentages are highest in accommodation and food service at 6.8%, leisure and hospitality at 6.4%, retail at 4.7%, and arts, entertainment, and recreation at 3.7%. As more workers resign, places of employment experiencing staffing shortages are often led through a cyclical pattern. Employees resign, leading to staffing shortages, which then leads to the staff on hand needing to bear more of the workload, resulting in long hours, additional duties beyond their typical load, and worker burnout, which in many cases can fall on the employees without any additional compensation. All of this then results in even more resignations. While many will return to the workforce as employees when they find the right fit, others, however, will not return at all. The number of those applying for an employer identification number has skyrocketed since the onset of the pandemic. This is a trend showing that record numbers are starting their own businesses. Also not returning to the workforce are those retiring. More than 1 million older workers have exited the workforce since the pandemic began. Many are choosing to retire earlier than before, according to data collected by the Federal Reserve, showing that the average chance adults expect to work beyond 62 is now 50.1%, with the chance of Americans working beyond 67 falling to a record low of 32.4%. For some who are retiring, health risks related to the pandemic were a deciding factor. For others, those in the hardest hit industries with closures who were laid off or furloughed have decided not to return and retire early. And others reported not having enough or any suitable job offers to keep them in the workforce. But not all retirement is out of choice. Some may not be ready or even prepared to retire. A Boston College study found that more than a third of Americans between ages 65 and 69 years old do not have enough saved for retirement to cover just a year of minimal care. When thinking about the Great Resignation, there is also another factor to consider, that while workers seek to earn higher wages which cover their cost of living, provide them with benefits and a workplace where they feel valued, that they also may be seeking out a shift in not only their wages and income earning potential, but also seeking out a more complete pivot in shifting their overall lifestyles. Humans often step back and seek out answers to existential questions when they come in close contact with illness and death. Thoughts of illness and death, as well as many experiencing these firsthand, have been abundant throughout the pandemic. This can then result in individuals pivoting how they live their life. Klotz stated, one hopefully silver lining of this horrible pandemic would be if the world of work transitioned to a more healthy, sustainable place for employee well-being. For many, the pandemic has reshaped their views and priorities on a number of things, and many have re-evaluated how they spend their time, how they work, where they work, and much more. For some who lost their source of income in a low-paying field and then went on to collect unemployment benefits, their weekly unemployment benefit, including the supplemental pandemic benefit, provided more income than their previous job. And they were able to see what it was like to make ends meet and pay their bills, feed their families, and cover basic needs. For others, they may have experienced different ways to shift their way of life. Some spending more time at home and more time with family. Some may find they are switching industries, type of work, or are undergoing early retirement, while others may find that they are unable to make ends meet and must seek out higher wages in a job which values their worth and provides a living wage. The pandemic has changed many things about our lives. Whether workers are resigning due to income needs, a shift in personal priorities, early retirement, or a variety of other reasons, it remains unclear which direction our labor trends will take. Will more employers begin to offer higher wages, better benefits, and more flexible working terms, as some have already begun to offer? Or will employees begin to work for themselves on their own terms and control how they make their money? In what ways will our country address the needs of the workers who need a change?